So let's get back to some of the big stories here. Nigeria's headline, inflation. That came in today, soft in the month of August, 32.15%. That's a 2 straight months of decline. The Statistics Office also reports food inflation moderating at 37.52%, and that's on the economic side. On the Broad Street side, the UBA Group is reportedly propping for a multi-billion-naira rights issue as a key peg of its recapitalization exercise. Quite a bit to chew together tonight. My guest in our Abuja studios, welcome Muktar Mohammed, a public policy analyst and the CEO of Finance with Muktar. We thank you for coming in tonight. Good evening.
Thank you for having me, Bosin. My pleasure always.
Great. Sink your teeth into the inflation data for the month of August for me. What do you find? What's your take? Should we party on this?
I think we should party because if you've had inflation for a long time like this and for the first time in 2 consecutive months, we've seen inflation come down, I think it calls for party. But then there's still a lot of work to be done because if you look at where we are, we're still doing about 30-something%. And again, food inflation is still very high at 37%. And that is where it's really a challenge for the government now. We hopefully, with the removal of tariff on some of these food items, even if we have waited for this for the past 2 months, finally, maybe it will get to hear from them any moment from now. That could also be a key driver going towards the end of the year. But I think it's exciting news. For the first time, we are having inflationary figure come down 2 consecutive months. And so it called for excitement, but very mild because there's still a lot of work to be done.
Muktar, you said we should party, and I'm just raising my... what I got here is a little cup of coffee. So I'm going to raise that to inflation decelerating 2 months. Whatever you party in there in Abuja, I'm sure it's a lot bigger. That's where the big boys are, more than those of us here in Lagos. But this is what I can afford tonight on the show for everyone on inflation. But food inflation also trending slightly lower, 37% thereabout. Do you think we can take this to the market? Can we preach to the man on the street that inflation for food, what goes on his breakfast, lunch, and dinner table is starting to decline? Would that be a fact?
No, that would not be a fact to them. Let's be factual. It won't be a fact to them. But definitely, like I said, we've seen little success here and there. If you're in Lagos, the cost of tomatoes have come down a little. The cost of also some of these bag of rice is coming down, especially with the palliative from government saying rice at 40,000. And so, but again, why the man on the street will not party is because his earning ability is still the way it is, and it's still not making sense to him. Because some months ago or some years ago, what he earned was enough to take him through. But now, the numbers are not back where they used to be. So it will take some time, but definitely I think we have cause to party a little, like I said. Hopefully the farming season will come. We are seeing very soon we'll see petrol. Hopefully PMS might come down in October when we start buying, Dangote start buying in Naira, then some of those charges will go. We'll see a full deregulation of that sector. Exchange rate will definitely come down if the data is right, telling us about 40% of FX pressure comes from importation of refined petroleum product. You know what it means to have 40% of reduction in a particular item. That would drive down the exchange rate. Like I keep saying, Boston, the challenge with Nigeria is not just trying to hike the rate or trying to see how you can mop up liquidity, because the informal sector, one of Nigerian key sectors, is largely driven by liquidity. The challenge has been the exchange rate volatility. The challenge has been the instability in the exchange rate. So if we are able to reduce that and we bring stability into the exchange rate, definitely inflation will keep driving down.
All right, let's shift gear and talk about the word on the street. What we know as at the moment was that UBA Group, talking about the banking sector consolidation, UBA is about to float a jumbo rights offer to existing shareholders. Give me your first word on that. What do you make of that?
Fantastic news if you're an existing shareholder. If you're not an existing shareholder, I mean, maybe it's time for you to see how you can become an existing shareholder and then get that stocks, and that could also, you could get it at a higher price. What I say about that, I think is good news, especially when you look at UBA as a brand, what they've been able to achieve thus far. When you look at the management team, what their goal and aspiration are, what is the drive towards the right issue, and what strategy they've actually employed. The strategy for me is key because during the last AGM, the chairman of the company, Tony Elimilu, made everyone to understand that, you know what, we are not going to do the right issue until we are sure we are going to pay you interim dividend. From that interim dividend, we want our existing shareholders to be partaker of this right issue. So at that time, that's when we're going to release the right issues so that with your fund, you can partake in it. And also, yeah, it has even gone far, like the last time they did during the offer, during the last AGM, even promised investors that are ready to invest their dividends, about 18% interest on those dividends so that they will be able to partake in the right issues. Using his word, he said, we are going into an exciting time and we want those that have been with us to enjoy this other time, the exciting time we are going into. So it's good news if you are an investor in UBA. But again, if you are not an investor, maybe you just have to wait.
As an analyst, what would you say are the biggest or the strongest investment case for UBA Group? Is it the history? I'm sure the bank is still doing its 75th anniversary. They say it's a year long. What do you see when you look at this institution? They say 75 years. I guess that's one of the oldest banking group in Nigeria, as it were.
Look, it's the history, fine, and how they've been able to evolve with the times. It's not just history. They have a lot of banks that have history. I don't have to call them. You know those banks, they have history. They are going through one challenge or the other. 75 years, UBA have been consistent in terms of they have not had any serious crisis in terms of management team, in terms of who is the largest shareholder, in terms of, remember that they also has even metamorphosed from the UBA, old UBA, merging with Standard Trust Bank, becoming a bigger UBA. And since then, they've been a very, very big bank in terms of expansion, in terms of coming up with product, in terms of the way they do corporate governance is key also in UBA. Then the type of succession plan we have seen in UBA. We've not had those crises of succession plan that we've seen in most of these banks that are with the same generation with them. So what I think has helped UBA thus far in the outside of the history, also the consistency in terms, especially with shareholders, how consistent they've been, and also corporate governance, which is key towards anybody wanting to be part of your company. I think for me, those are the key drivers of UBA thus far.
So how would a UBA right offer be priced? What would you be looking at as an investor? I'm sure you hold this stock in your portfolio, as it were. What are you looking at in terms of how this should be priced?
Bosin, I wish I could tell them to price it low so that we that are investors we have more, we'll be able to buy it at a high premium. I'm looking at a UBA. I can't fix the price. I don't know what they are looking at, but at the close of market on Friday, because like you always say, Broad Street is not open today. So at the close of market, it was trading about 23, is it 23.50 or thereabout? So hopefully we could be getting those right at 22 or 21, 21.50 or 22 naira. That would be a good incentive for especially investors to want to take position in this share. Like I said, this is a share in terms of dividend payout has been fantastic. In terms of corporate governance has been fantastic. In terms of expansion drive, what they want to do with their current cash. You see, the good thing about it is why some are taking the right issue as a means of trying to expand. UBA is looking at going into other businesses, not thinking of expansion because they already expanded in most countries in the world. They are in the United States, in New York, especially. I think they are also in the UK, and I think they have an office also in United Arab Emirates, Dubai, to be precise. So they are not looking for those funds to expand. They are looking how to invest it in key places. And when you look at the antecedent, that's why I'm saying that. By the pricing, when you look at the antecedent, remember there was a time that most companies decide to have holding companies, and they just said the shareholder is just transferred from a particular bank, and then you become an holding company. You still maintain the existing shares. Some of these funds are used to invest in other banks, in other companies, buy up other companies. But in terms of UBA, what they did at that time was to say, look, if you own a share of UBA, we are trying to create another type of company out of UBA so that UBA will stand alone. But existing shareholders, you have shares in this new subsidiary that we are trying to create. They gave Afri Property, United Capital, Prudential Registrar. They make sure that if you are a shareholder of UBA, you were able to give him free shares without paying for it in this company. So those are the type of goodwill that a lot of investors will be looking at. And so that's why I think we are appealing. Like you said, some of us are still shareholders of UBA. We are appealing that they should make the right issue very exciting for us that have, like Tony said, the chairman said the last time, he said, you have suffered with us. So it's time to begin to reap from your suffering. So they should remember those that have suffered with them and see how they can put this right issue between 22 naira or maybe 22 naira or 21 naira 90 kobo.
Muktar Mohammed, I'm not sure I can help you there, but I'm sure Tony Elumelu will be listening, and of course, you know, it has to be competitive. He's looking for, the bank's looking for money. So right now, you got to pay for it. But again, whatever that works out, I'm sure there'll be a facts behind the offer presentation, most likely going to be at the exchange. I'm sure shareholders like yourself of UBA will be there. You make your case with the management of the bank as it were. Thank you so much, Muktar Mohammed, the CEO at Finance with Muktar. We look forward to this offer coming to the market anytime soon. Thank you as always for your insights. Have a great evening.